All right, so at our last race, we completely destroyed the driver's seat in the Nova on our last launch. There's rust falling out of it and all kinds of stuff. The frame inside is just destroyed. So I picked myself up a set of these seats right here. These are actually out of a 73 or 4 Vega, which are exactly the same as what you would find in that era of Camaro, like 71 to 81. These also, believe it or not, were the same seat frames that you would find in a 72 Nova SS. However, these are ugly. We just can't have this in the Nova. This is too ugly. So I picked up an upholstery kit so I can redo these in black vinyl and swap out those janky seats that are in the Nova for these, which much more cushy, nice and soft. The foams aren't in the best shape. I mean, there is a layer missing here, so it probably won't stretch quite as tight as it should, but I don't want to spend the extra money on foams, especially since the interior of the Nova isn't like its finished product now anyway. I figure when I do the interior on the Nova, I'll probably redo the seat covers. I really wanted to use the actual 72 Nova covers, which do fit on these frames because it had kind of a cool pattern on it. But the problem with that was the back on that upholstery was closed and the back on this is open. And although I think the Nova ones would probably work, you just have to stretch it over the top and then you kind of roll it down the seat, and then you have a little bar that comes through the upholstery back here that you hog ring back to this. But I've never actually done seat upholstery before, so this is kind of a new thing for me. So I thought, why don't I do just the Camaro covers that match this open back style? That way I've got something to reference on the passenger seat. And there's a lot more information on doing this style of cover online than there is of doing the closed back one. So we're just doing the Camaro covers because of that. Now, even though I have never done seat upholstery before, I have been told that it is a must that you have a pair of these hog ring pliers. So now with my new little tool, I am going to get in here and give it a try. First place to start after we get the top and bottom separated is to start cutting these hog rings. All right, so now I think it's ready to get flipped over and peel this around. So that foam is just gonna look gorgeous underneath there, I'm sure. So there's more hog rings to cut as you peel this around. And this is why you need hog ring pliers, because otherwise you just cannot get down into these areas with your hog rings. Basically, any spot that's like pulled tight to the seat foam, that's where you're gonna see hog rings. Okay, so now this thing should lift right off the top, or rip right off the top, whichever. Doesn't matter to me either way. Okay, there we go, old ugly seat covers off. Okay, so for anybody that has actually never done this and is kind of interested on what's going on here, on the top and bottom grooves here, there's these metal wires that are actually molded into the foam down here, and you can feel it when you push on it. Okay, new seat cover. Now I've seen two ways of doing this. Some people turn this totally inside out, and then you lay it on top, and then you hog ring like the top here, the bottom here, the sides, and then you have to have this heated up real good so that you can fold it around the top. The other way I've seen to do this is to get the top slid on around it, and then you peel all this back like this, get the top, work your way down the sides, and then get the bottom. They both have their drawbacks. I mean, one way, if you start with the totally inside out method, it's easy to get all this hog ring nice and straight in here for like a beginner like myself. But then of course you gotta have this heated up good and then, you know, peel it all around. Hopefully you don't rip anything. So I'm going with option A. I'm gonna have it totally inside out, get it all stitched around here, and then fold it over. Hopefully I'm not making a mistake. The other thing that you have to do is you've got these metal rods on the side. You have to cut the clips on these, pull them out, and then you slide these through here. And then this is what gives you something to hog ring the seat down with. Now this style of seat cover that I got unfortunately doesn't have any ropes in here. It's supposed to have a cord through here that really gives you something firm to stitch it down to. I'm not sure why they don't give you that on this particular set, but I assume that since you're really stretching around the sides, that's where you need the metal bar here. And then in here, maybe it's just not really necessary to have that much support. That's what I'm hoping, and that's what I'm going with. Okay, so I'm gonna start on the sides and do both sides first because those are the spots that have support with these steel rods. Okay, first hog ring in place. You can kind of use the hog ring pliers to push all this stuff together. Get it all nice and tight down in there. Make sure you get around the wire that's down in the foam. There we go. Now that's in there pretty good and tight. So then we'll move to the other side. Yep, shit. Yep, see, missed the wire in the foam. That's okay. We'll just redo it. As long as we don't run out of hog rings, we're still in good shape. That's better. Okay, so I've got the inside all hog ringed, and I'm actually gonna see if this whole thing is pliable enough to get this around the edge. If not, then I'll have to run and get some wood and kick the wood stove on and heat this thing up. But I think I might be able to get it to roll over. Being that the foam isn't really attached to the frame, it'll kind of, you know, squish around a little bit. Kind of let us get it around, I think. Yeah. So far, this hasn't really been too bad of a job. Like they say, I think, you know, having those hog ring pliers is just, you have to have them, otherwise you're not going to be able to do this. But as long as you got those, it's not bad. Yeah, I mean, I think that actually is looking pretty darn good so far. I got a piece of cardboard to set that on. It's looking too nice to set it down on that crap. All right, so now that we got that folded around, now it's basically just getting this roped area hog ringed around to the frame here. All right, this sucker's wrapped. I had a little bit of trial and error down here to try to get it to look the way I want, but I mean, heck, for my very first seat upholstery job, I think that came out pretty darn good. So now I'm gonna take the plastics and paint all of those black, and then while those are drying, I'm gonna do the bottom section of the seat. When you're done spraying with paint, hold the can upside down and squeeze the trigger, and then that blows all the paint out of the nozzle, and then you can reuse it without it being all clogged up. I believe you just get the hog rings in the back cut, and then there's like this little plastic thing that wraps around the bottom of the seat. Okay, that was probably the biggest pain of this so far, was getting this plastic out from under this lip and back around. You got to kind of compress the foam down and then roll it out from underneath there. I mean, I probably could have just destroyed the cover while I was at it, but I kind of wanted to see, you know, how it came apart so I'd know a little bit more about how to put it back together, so I didn't really want to destroy it to just take it off. And it's kind of the same thing as the top from this point. It's just folding it around, cutting the hog rings around in here, and then the new one will go on the same way. Okay, so the bottom cover is pretty similar to the top one. You get the center section hog ring down in here, you get the sides hog ring down in, and then this is going to get folded around the side, and then you've got this piece of plastic that slips up into a lip inside the frame here, and then you'll hog ring it back to some springs back over here. Okay, so the bottom was kind of a pain to get everything folded around and tight and where it needs to go, and especially getting this plastic piece on the back. And it does have a few little, you know, wrinkles and stuff that I'm not super happy with, but you know what? Hell, for what we're doing on Knot Rod here, and my very first one, I'd say it's pretty good. So now the next thing you got to do is you take the upholstery here, and I'm gonna kind of push it down so it's a little bit tighter, and then these are where the hinge pins are for the back rest, and you take and you just hammer around those, and it punches out a perfect little hole right there for the hinge pin. Do that on the other side, then I can put the backrest back on. There's two. Now put our little lock rings on. All right, so after all that work, I gotta see how this bad boy feels. Oh yeah, that is much better than the bricks that are in it now, I'll tell you that. So I wanted to give my 2 cents about this upholstery kit. I don't know if all these kits are like this. This kit came from TMI, and there's a couple of little things that I didn't really like about it. One thing I notice a lot with these aftermarket covers is that you'll notice that here where the bolsters are, down towards the bottom, it's kind of flat across here. Whereas if you look at a factory one, the bolsters stick out a lot more in the bottom right here. And that's because on the factory cover, you've got your rod that comes down through right here, which goes in between this top area and this bottom area right here. And as you can see, when you reuse that rod, it pulls it in nice and tight right in here, and you get a nice bolster. Now the stock ones, at the lower portion of that, past that rod, which would be right down in here at the lower area, it's got a piece of cord right here. And on the stock one, this cord is hoggering down to the wire inside the foam. That's why on the stock ones, you see more of a bolster here. Now, that kind of, I don't know, it's like a fiber paper kind of thing that you run that rod down, and that does go all the way down to the bottom. So I suppose I probably could have put hog rings on just that piece without it being on a rod, and maybe got a little more rigidity there, but I didn't. And so it's kind of like what I've seen on a lot of aftermarket upholstered seats where it's kind of flat across there. I don't really care for that look, but it's kind of one of the reasons I'm glad that I used these Camaro ones for the trial, because there was kind of some trial and error there. And when I actually do the Nova ones, I'll know to do something down here to get that pulled in tighter. The other thing that happened, and this is just probably kind of my error, is you see how this side here is nice and smooth. This side has some wrinkles in it. And I think that's because when I got behind there and I pulled on this cord, I pulled it real tight and then hog ringed it back there. This side I didn't really do that. So at some point I may actually pull it back apart back there and just get back there and kind of pull that real nice and tight back there and hog ring it again. I actually ran out of hog rings while I was doing this. So, but we do have a complete seat. So this can go in the driver's side of the Nova so that I'll actually at least have a seat that doesn't fall apart while I'm on the drag strip, which is coming up in 3 days. So I got some work to do. Well, we'll hurry up and spray these and then roll them right in there because it feels like it might start raining soon. No! Oh, fuck. That was really stupid. I'd have been better off just leaving it there. That was just fantastic. Watch, it probably won't even rain. It would have been totally dried by now too if I had just left it out here. Not like these were in the greatest shape to begin with anyway, so definitely looks a lot worse now, but whatever.